You need to stop meal prepping. Well, at least until you do this one thing. So maybe you're prepping your meals every Sunday, spending hours cooking rice and chicken, but Thursday rolls around and all that food is gone. Or worse, it's just bad and you throw it out. So here's what most people don't understand: meal prepping is absolutely useless if you don't actually follow like a food framework. Because if you don't actually know what to prep and when to prep it, you will keep getting frustrated. And believe me, I've been there. So I want to talk about a personal story of mine. All right. So when I first started my fitness journey long ago, I told myself I was going to track literally everything down to the olive oil. I was going to weigh my peanut butter. I was going to, weigh the oatmeal that I had. And I see a lot of stuff online where people say you don't need to do that. You don't need to track your calories. And it just blows my mind because I've learned so much about food, especially once I started digging into the nutrition labels. Once I started realizing like how these macros like actually made me feel. And it's also a skill, right? Because nowadays I don't have to actually, weigh my food if I don't want to. I can eyeball it, like it's that easy for me now. Like, oh, I just think that's about 5 ounces, or that's about 8 ounces of chicken, or whatever it is. But most people, right? They'll make the mistake of weighing food after it's already been cooked, whenever you're supposed to weigh the food before it's cooked. And then after you cook it, you're supposed to portion it, and that's how you get your portion sizes, right? Believe me, once I started weighing my food, I realized that there was a lot of things that were wrong with the nutrition label. So for instance, if you ever buy like a package of chicken and then you weigh it, and it's supposed to be a certain amount, but it's not. It's like off by like 5 or 6 ounces. You're like, how does that even happen, right? Those types of things you'll learn. You'll be like, oh well, there's a whole bunch of ice or water in this package, and it was frozen, and then they weighed it at a different time, so maybe it changed, right? Weighing your food is something that you're going to have to do if you want to see success as fast as possible. A lot of people try and skip this step, but to be honest, that skill set is going to help you throughout your fitness journey, and you're going to thank me. You're going to thank me later, I promise. So if you're a busy guy and you're wondering what should I eat, what time should I eat it, what I recommend is starting with 3 solid meals per day, right? I know there's some conspiracies out there about, oh, well, breakfast wasn't supposed to be a real, meal or whatever. Don't worry about that trash. Okay. Start off with 3 solid meals, getting at least 40 to 50 grams of protein for each of those meals. All right. What that's going to do is that just going to keep you from, some crazy hunger cravings throughout the day. All right. Also, you'll know when your next meal is. You're not going to be stressed about, oh, well, I skipped breakfast, so maybe I'm going to eat dinner super late or whatever it is, right? Now, the framework that I use is I have at least between 5 and 8 ounces of lean meat per meal. So, with the exception of breakfast, right, that can be egg whites or eggs, things like that. So for lunch and for dinner, you'll have, 5 to 8 ounces of lean meat. So that could be chicken breast, that can be, lean ground beef, whatever, right? I would stay away from things like chicken thigh or, the 80% ground beef. Like that stuff is really fatty and it doesn't help with the macros. It's not going to make that as easy to hit every day. So the second thing I would do is I would have veggies at every meal. So that includes breakfast. So with my breakfast, I typically have like spinach. So it pairs well with the eggs, right? So eggs and spinach. And then for breakfast, I'll have either broccoli or asparagus. And then I'll basically just rotate those, for lunch and for dinner every day. Now, as far as carbs, you have to play with your macros, but typically, potatoes, rice, quinoa, things like that. And lastly, I would get at least a gallon of water a day. So when I first started, I actually was carrying around a big gallon jug of water, and I would get so many compliments, like, or people asking me like, "Hey, like, what is that?" Because it was just a big plastic jug that I bought off of Amazon, and it was it was kind of discolored, so it was like a faded black, and then on the top it was clear. I'll put a picture up here showing you what it looks like, but yeah, so every time I, brought that to work or brought that to the gym, people were like, "What's going on with your water bottle?" And it was kind of just like a conversation starter. But I thought that was pretty neat. I found something that could help me on my fitness journey because I didn't have to fill it up, 10 times a day, and I actually kept, ice in there too, so it helped me out there as far as like drinking my water every day. So the main things for this framework, right, is to one, get at least 40 to 50 grams of protein per meal. Two, you're gonna have veggies at every single meal, but what you can do is rotate those. So broccoli, green beans, whatever, right? Have at least a cup or two of veggies, right? And then three, making sure that you get enough water. So water is so important because a lot of people are just flat out dehydrated. And so that's how they lose energy, they lose motivation to hit the gym because they're just thirsty. And your body does not perform well if you don't have water. Now, when it comes to actually cooking the food, what I do is I use a slow cooker. So I'll add all my chicken to the slow cooker. I'll put it in there for 6 to 8 hours. I don't have to do anything to it except for maybe season it, right? I don't have any bland chicken, but basically just put it in there 6 to 8 hours. You have shredded chicken. It tastes good. It's flavorful. You don't have to put it in the oven or something and wait. Don't ever do that. Actually, baked chicken is terrible. But yeah, I would put that into containers. That'll last about 3 to 4 days, and then you'll have another day where you're meal prepping, right? Typically, food doesn't last more than 3 to 4 days in the refrigerator. So whatever someone says, like they meal prep only one day a week. I mean, I don't know, bro. You can do that. I don't do that. I'm not gonna eat something 7 days ago that I cooked. There's just no way, man. And you're probably asking, like, okay, like if I'm busy, how am I gonna, be able to do all this stuff? How am I gonna be able to like grab my, my meals and take them with me and things like that? So again, with all this stuff, right, you can make minor adjustments to all this. So for the rice, I actually use a rice cooker. I just put all the rice in there, put it on, brown rice, and then it'll just do its thing, right? I don't have to touch it. And it usually lasts like 45 minutes to an hour. But you can also swap that, right, for the microwavable rice, which is done in like, 2 to 3 minutes, sometimes even a minute and a half, right? And that's a lot faster than waiting a whole hour for a rice cooker to cook your brown rice or your white rice. Now, the reason why I don't recommend heating up all your food is because that's just going to get monotonous, right? You're going to have so much trash. But I'm a fan of not doing dishes personally. I hate doing that. So I might actually talk in the next video about, a meal prep service, I guess, or a meal prep service called Factor. Just putting it in the microwave and boom, there you go. You just bring your fork or your spoon or whatever and eat it, and then you just throw away the trash. That was good, but it costs a lot of money. I'm not gonna lie, it costs a lot of money. It's like $200 per week, and I ain't balling like that. But was it worth it? Yeah, it was worth it. All right, guys. So, moral of this story is you need to have a solid plan, right? The 3 meals per day, making sure that you get high protein in every single meal so that way you can hit your protein goal. And you also need a repeatable system. So, whatever works for you, that could be, I'm going to cook, the chicken in the slow cooker, on Monday, and then on Friday I'm going to eat the rest of the microwavable chicken or whatever it is, right? Or the microwavable dinners that you have. And me personally, I do eat out like once or twice a week, so I don't have to, cook twice. But people that say that they meal prep once a week and eat the meal prep once a week, that's different. That's crazy. And again, guys, if your meals are not prepped, if they're not planned, you're definitely going to end up snacking it late at night, or you know, you're going to end up making bad decisions down the road, right? Like eating, gas station food, or picking up some fast food on the way because you don't have anything cooked at home. Like that is the number one thing that killed me was DoorDash, right? I'm sure it'd be killing y'all too, man. That DoorDash is too convenient, but just having that convenience, right? It just tricks your mind, and you end up saying to yourself, "Oh, I could just make it up later, with my diet or whatever," right? All the meals that I eat out, I actually plan it. Like there's no guessing to that type of stuff, at least for me. So whenever I eat my Mexican food, which I love Mexican food, whenever I eat those burritos or those tacos, like it's planned. It's not me just, winging it. Like some people just love to wing it. So just remember this one thing, all right? If you didn't take anything else from this video, just remember this one thing. If your meals are not planned, your results will not be either. And remember, fellas, greatness is not given, it's earned.